I was when the mic died was Jay mentioned 39 years of marriage, and my wife Bonnie wouldn't let me go without correcting that. So it's 42 years, and the cool part of the story on the Ironman is that at 57 years old, I did not know how to swim, which was just 5 years ago. And since then, I've done 10 Ironmans, and quite frankly, last year was a really big event for me because I placed third in South Africa in the race. And in a couple weeks, I'll be running the Boston Marathon. So a bit of an overachiever. So let me give you a flavor here. We've got a limited time here. I created 3 documents in front of me of material that I thought you could learn from. My style is such that I'm going to be at the board occasionally, and I'm going to sweat profusely before we're done here. We've got stage lights going on, plus I've got a lot of energy that needs to be dispensed. What I'm going to ask of all of you is this. You're already showing me a sign of commitment. Sign of commitment, many of you are up after traditional working hours watching this video. A sign of commitment in terms of where you're at in your life and the commitment that you're making to College Works and what your aspirations are going forward. So what I did is I sat down earlier today after a month away in Australia and New Zealand and said, if I could put down my best thoughts about what could make you more successful as, one, a human being in life, sucking the marrow out of it, 2, what could make you better in terms of a business person, forget the sales stuff for the moment, what could make you a better leader, manager, a person who could go and could grow, what would I share with you there from my life experiences, and then third, what could I hand you that would be instant stuff that could help you with your numbers, similar to the numbers that I heard Johnny talking about in terms of the success that people were already having out there in the field. So I want to give you some sales ideas as well. Last, and then we get into it, is this. Really special day for me because our daughter gave birth to our second grandson just about 7 hours ago. And so little Wyatt is in our world, and we're excited about that. They live in Virginia. I live in California, so we won't get to see him for a couple weeks. But with all that excitement in the house, a couple Ironmans this month, plus a new grandson, it's been a great month for me. All right, so I've built 6 businesses from scratch into national firms. All of them were very fast growing. On the top line, the revenue line, and the bottom line, the profit line. And here's what I'm going to ask for you. I'm going to ask for you to hang in there with me all the way through. I'm going to ask you to get a notepad out, and I'm going to ask you to take notes. If you're at a laptop and you're going to take notes on there, I'm fine with that. But the key is notes. I have at least 25 action items that I'm going to blitz you with, and if you're not with me along the way, all of it's going to blend in together, and my fear is you're not going to walk out with anything. But if you were to walk out of this presentation with 2 or 3 action items that you actually took action on and implemented within the next 2 weeks, we kick some serious ass tonight, and that's what I'm interested in doing. All right, so 6 businesses from scratch into national firms, 2 of which I sold to Wall Street, First Boston and Salomon Brothers. I want to show you just one example of one of those companies. I was living in the northeast part of the country, and I built a bunch of businesses back there, and quite frankly, if you live there, you already know what I'm talking about. We're talking snow and cold and wet and all the rest of that, and I just said, hey, look, all my businesses are going national anyway. Why don't I live someplace where the weather's pretty predictable and pretty damn attractive? So a wife and 2 kids, pack ourselves up, moved to California in 1985. And in 1985, we didn't know anyone in California. And I said, I've got a vision, and this is my poor rendering of the United States. And there's my vision is I'm going to move from over here, and I'm going to move to Southern California, and I'm going to build a company. I brought 3 people with me. So the 4 of us, myself and 3 other individuals, start this company here. And in 18 months, the 4 of us grew into 750 people in 18 months in 22 offices. And in our first 3 years, we made $42 million in profits, which is the coolest part of that story. I have done something like that, 22 offices. I've done something like that over and over and over again. Today, I speak in front of audiences of owners of businesses, entrepreneurs, salespeople, and sales managers on how can you grow your business in a robust, exponential way. And that's what my sweet spot is. I'm in front of about 100 audiences a year, and my wife Bonnie and I use it as a vehicle for traveling and then seeing the world on top of it. Last year, I logged something in the neighborhood of about 380,000 air miles. The last 3 months was 48,000 alone. Now, when did I start selling? Well, 7 years old. I sold pot holders. And selling pot holders, these little cloth things that you pull the pans out of the oven with, the only people that sold them were little girls. And they sold them to moms and grandmoms. So I said, look, making these pot holders is relatively easy. They're selling these things. I'm going to make them and sell them. Well, what was interesting is I sold them more than any other person in the marketplace at twice the price. And how did I do that? Well, the key word that I wrote down on my notes that I want you to write down in your notes is this: differentiation. Find out how to create an environment when you're out there working such that you are the compelling choice. For example, moms and grandmoms were the market. They're the people that are going to buy them. And it's kind of like Girl Scout cookies. You know, a Girl Scout calls in a mom and grandmom, hey, would you like to buy some Girl Scout cookies? Then they buy two boxes, 3 boxes. Then another girl calls on them. They buy another box. And all of a sudden, a little girl knocks on mom or grandmom and say, hey, I already got my Girl Scout cookies. You're going to have to knock on someone else's door. No sale. All right. So here I am knocking on moms and grandmoms' doors. And I'm here, and I already bought from Mary, Sally, and Susie. And I said, yeah, Mary, Sally, and Susie, all little girls. You've never bought a pot holder made by a little boy, and I know that for a fact because I'm the only little boy out there making these pot holders. And you got to have a pot holder, at least one, if not 2, made by a little boy. How many would you like, 1 or 2? So here's the outcome of that. All the little girls shared the market. I owned the market and charged twice the price. And the way you can get away with that is by differentiating yourself from the competition. My first note that I want you to take: differentiate and find a way to stand out from the pack. Now, I went on in life, and I ended up at 12 years old having a newspaper route. My newspaper route was 32 customers. So you picked up the papers here, you walked down the street, and then you made a turn, and you ended up at this house. Now, I know that because the guy that had the route before me, 32 customers, walked the route with me his last 2 days of work. My first day, I just watched what he did, and I took notes. I didn't have any interaction with him. I wanted to make notes of what is the level of service that the customer's expecting based upon what they've been getting from him. So if he was delivering the paper to the side door, I made a note to deliver it to the side door, or front door, or in the mailbox, or inside the door, or under the mat. So I make all my notes in my study of the marketplace. 12 years old, 32 customers. Second day, we make the turn here, and as we made it, I said, well, there's houses up the street. Who delivers papers to them? He says, I don't even know if they got it. I only got to wait until this 32nd house and he's out of my life. I'm not going to try and remedy him. I said, bang. You know what? The kid that had the newspaper route got satisfied with his habits with 32 customers. In other words, he made enough pocket money to take on whatever he was going to do, and he stopped selling. I went back home and I phoned the newspaper company and I said, hey, what's the chances of getting 10 free papers? They said, what do you want them for? I said, I want to go out and knock on doors and prospect. They said, hell, that sounds like a great deal to us. So the next day, I got 10 extra papers. I went down to the next 10 houses. I knocked on their doors, and bang, they started to buy. They started to buy, and they started to buy, and they started to buy. And a year later, I got 275 customers. All right, I'm in the Philadelphia suburbs. I got 275 customers. I'm going to school. My parents are taking school seriously. The homework is important too. And now it's after school when it's dark and it's wet and it's cold, and I'm like, man, this sucks. I hate the work, but I like the money. I hate the work. I like the money. Well, I got to solve this. Well, you had to be 12 years old to have a newspaper route. So what I did is I found 5 11-year-old kids. I split the 275 amongst them, and I said I'd pay them half of what the company paid me, and I would take the hard work out, which is collecting. Now, that was really key, because where the action, the money, where the profit for a newspaper carrier back then was not what the company paid you, it was in the tips, and I never agreed to share the tips. So, get this, they did all the work. I kept 70% of the money, and I then won Newspaper Boy of the Year. I win Newspaper Boy of the Year. 3 months later, I call the newspaper company up, and I say, hey, no one's asked me how I went from 32 customers to 275 in a year. No one's asked me how I made Newspaper Boy of the Year. Don't you think you ought to do that? And the guy says, yeah, how did you do that? I said, rather than me tell you, I've got a proposal for you. Give me 5 kids on a Saturday afternoon for 4 hours. Drive them around in a van, and they can ghost me on these calls. And for that, I'll show them how to sell, and I'll charge you $200 for the 4 hours. Every other Saturday, I'm hired to do that. My guys are delivering my 275, and I'm in my sweet spot, which is selling again, but at a much better rate than I was before. Key word. I want you to write it down, and I want you to figure this out and hold it for the rest of your life, and the key word is leverage. I got to grow my business by leveraging it off the backs of 5 other people, and it wasn't the company's idea. You need to understand how to leverage your business. Make a note. I got these guys delivering the papers. I don't have as much work to do any longer. So now, at 14 years old, I become a caddy at a private country club. And when I was 14, I was a really small little guy. They're laughing at me, and they're thinking that I can't carry a bag. I was doing doubles twice a day, 2 bags twice a day, and I had to fight through it. And the word that I want you to write down under this one is persistence. We're going to be talking about things like that, but I'm telling you at College Works, what you guys are about is persistence. You will run into more no's than you're going to run into yays. I've been there my entire life, and you need to understand that nobody is going to help you with that unless you step up. So, continuing with your note-taking, I've got 2 themes that I'm going to strike after all throughout this presentation. My first theme is something that College Works is incredibly well known for, and the thing that I most respect about Jay and his partners. 2 words, write them down: systems and processes. Systems and processes, systems and processes, systems and processes. Here is the secret to successful growing of a business. Systems and processes. I go into companies and I look all throughout the organization. So much of most companies, there's systems and processes all the way through. But then I get over to the sales side, it looks like the wild, wild west with every guy making up his own stuff. My largest sales force was 2,600 salespeople. 2,600 salespeople, and I'm infamous for saying this. There ain't 2,600 best ways to sell this stuff. So what we need to do is we need to figure out the best way to sell it and then follow the systems and processes. Systems and processes. Well, here's the benefit that you have recently joining up at College Works. These guys have figured it out. And if you follow the systems and processes that have proven successful, you can end up at a point in your life where Johnny is standing here introducing tonight's program when he was in your shoes not that long ago. But you got to follow the systems and processes. Key item number 1, it's a theme that runs all the way through tonight. The second one has nothing to do with College Works and has everything to do with College Works. And the second one is this: it all is up to you. 50% or more of success at selling is a head case. 50% or more of success has nothing to do with product, price, or service. 50% or more of success in selling has to do with getting up in the morning and saying, God bless the competition because I'm going to go out and kick some serious ass today. And you give me a guy that does that day in and day out, and I'll give you a guy that's putting up numbers that no one in College Works has ever seen before. And that, my friends, is something that each of us decides to bring day in and day out. And I'm telling you, I am a life experience of deciding every day to bring it. Big picture. Let's talk about entrepreneurial insight. When I'm in front of my audiences, Jay mentioned I'll speak in front of Entrepreneurs Organization, Young Presidents Organization, all of these organizations all over the world of owners and entrepreneurs of business. I tell them, look, after building 6 companies into national firms in the U.S., it really comes down to 3 things. Please take some notes here, gang. The first thing in the rearview mirror of my life and saying what caused our company to have success was having a clear understanding of what the vision is. A clear understanding of the vision. When I went to California in 1985, I drew this before I left here and said, within 5 years, we're going to do this and absolutely crush it. And this is how we're going to go about doing it. And I sold the vision day in and day out. And it's the vision of what you want to be as an entrepreneur that is the sustaining thing that gets you through the bumps in the road. I've not done an Ironman. Out of the 10 that I've done, I've never done one where I haven't run into a challenge. My last Ironman was just 2 days ago in Australia. And I am on pace to set a PR, a personal record, a personal best for the 10 that I've done. I'm out of the swim, I'm on the bike. And all of a sudden, I got foot problems such that I ended up at the halfway point in a marathon of the Ironman, taking a knife and cutting a big hole in my shoes to let my toes breathe so that I could at least walk the rest of it in. But my toes and my feet had been shattered from an injury that I was running through. I can tell you about an Ironman 2 years ago in Phoenix where it's a 3-loop on the bike, and at the end of the first loop, I heard them say, there goes Jack Daly, comfortably in first in his age group. I'm all pumped up, only to have 3 flats take place. 3 flats. And the only way that I made it through and said, you know what, don't quit, is I had a vision of me crossing that finish line and saying, gosh darn it, you're doing something that very few people in life ever get a chance to do. Do not quit. You got plenty of time on the clock. Change these tires and get your ass moving. Vision. Understanding what your vision is. The second key is key people in key spots. Key people in key spots, all I want you to do is bank that knowledge for somewhere in your future and say, if you are here at College Work, to bite into the apple and say, let's use this as a platform, just as many other people that I've run into all throughout the world that I am now coaching for, that I am now speaking at their companies with literally hundreds of employees that were in College Works before and got their teeth cut here, that are now running their own companies. I say bank that one and understand the key is key people in key spots. I brought 3 people with me from the East Coast in 1985 to build that company with the 4 of us that went to 750 people in 18 months. I never would have been able to do it without them. Key people in key spots. And then the third important ingredient as an entrepreneur is culture. And culture is all about creating an environment in your company where the people don't get up in the morning and say, crap, I got to go to work again today. Rather, they get up and say, hot damn, I get to go there. And when Johnny comes on at the beginning of this program and says, hey, here's what's going on, and here's the awards, and here's what people are doing, and by the way, we got another contest, and it's for this weekend, and we get a $100 check. Hey, contest. You guys are on trips. You're going out and getting recognition, and that is culture, creating an environment, and College Works does it, where people literally get up and say, let's go kick some serious ass. And The key to a great culture is fun. Fun. Think about this. Southwest Airlines in business for 40 years with 38,000 employees. They're the only people in the airline industry that look like they're having any sort of fun. And they're the only company for the last 40 years that has made a profit. And the rest of them, like American Airlines, is bankrupt, merged, out of business, and all of those types of things. And the key is to creating a winning culture. So from a big picture perspective, I just want to give you that, since I know that you joined College Works not to sell. You didn't join to sell. You joined to get your teeth cut so that you can be a better leader in your business life. Please remember that stored away. The next thing that I would tell you is this. I'm going to try to connect this dot to you as a dot. And the dot connection is this. I say the following in every business owner I come up to. Recruit for skills, but hire for attitude. Recruit for skills, but hire for attitude. 50% or more of success at selling is a head case. 50% or more of success at anything is a head case. And so, I don't care. You give me a guy that gets up in the morning and wants to raw meat off of the bone, I'll teach him product, price, service, strategies, and tactics. By the way, you bring the right attitude, and College Works can give you the product, price, service, strategies, and tactics. What we can't do is get you to bring it every day. But if you elect to do and bring it every day, and that's what College Works is looking to hire, is put people in the seats, in your seat, that are going to bring it. And now let me show you in code what I tell every business owner, particularly in the United States. 2 words, just write them down. It's the secret to recruiting top people. Hire Rudy. Rudy, Rudy, Rudy. Quick break. So one of the things that you're going to hear me talk about a little bit later is overcoming adversity. And what I just talked about in doing my Ironmans was my foot problem in Australia, cutting my shoe open, flats in Phoenix. How about losing my salt tablets in South Africa? And how about half the people that were supposed to be on this deal weren't on it because we were having transmission issues? Well, we're going to overcome that adversity as well. Here's where we last left off, and hopefully we've all gotten an opportunity to rejoin. Where we left off was recruit for skills but hire for attitude. And then, after going through a little bit, what I said was code, hire Rudy. Rudy, the movie Rudy, where this guy isn't bright enough to get in Notre Dame, ain't big enough to play football, but darn if he didn't. You give me Rudy at College Works, and College Works will give them product, price, service, strategies, and tactics. These guys, quite frankly, and I've been on the sidelines watching them for over 2 decades, these guys figured it out. They have already figured it out. All you need to do is day in and day out, do what you need to do, proven systems and processes. So, when you're building a company, when you're going to go out into the world and really take off, understand the key to growing your sales is to grow your sales force, and the key to growing a top-notch sales force is the quality of the individual that you bring on. And since 50% or more of success is a head case, I want to give you the 5 laws of self-renewal. So now where I'm going is what you need to have ownership of in your head to make yourself successful. Please take notes. First law is the law of self-discipline. And the law of self-discipline says merely, success comes from doing what you need to be doing, when you need to be doing it, whether you want to or not. Now I'm going to tell you what it means for you in your role at College Works. And that is 2 words, and that's time management. My observation of so many salespeople out there, no matter what industry that I find, is they're awful at the time management side. They're more reactive than proactive, and because they don't want to make that next call, they find other non-high payoff activities to work on when we at College Works have already figured out what the high payoff activities are. Do the high payoff activities, and you'll reap the rewards. In fact, here is the simple formula. Identify the key activities. Well, quite frankly, College Works already figured that out. Second, do the key activities. And the third is reap the rewards. The formula for success is that simple. Where it breaks down at College Works is not identifying the activities. Where it breaks down is doing the activities. Do what you say you're going to do, when you say you're going to do it, whether you want to or not. It is the first law. It is called the law of self-discipline. The second law is the law of responsibility. And the law of responsibility says we are responsible for the outcomes we experience. We are responsible for the outcomes we experience. Let me show it to you in a really graphic way. That sales force of 2,600 people that I had, well, that was one of two companies that I did not build. And I went in as a turnaround specialist. I go into this company, and I was hired to turn it around. I asked, who's my top sales guy out of the 2,600? Who's the bottom guy? And actually, what I really wanted to know is, where's my ranking? So we force ranked the 2,600. Took them 2.5 weeks to get me it. And what we found when we broke them into quartiles is we had 650 in the top quartile, 650 in the second, 650 in the third, 650 in the fourth. The bottom quartile, the bottom 25%, produced less than 3% of the sales. The top quartile, same number of people, 67% of the sales. When I gathered 20 of the bottom 650 people into a conference room and asked, what the hell is going on? Why are the numbers so low? I heard every reason other than me. I heard the economy. I heard that our price. I heard that our program. I heard that our service. I heard that the competitor was doing something. Not one time did any one of them say, yo, we're in the bottom quartile. There's a reason. We suck. We're not doing the activities. That's the piece of the formula that gets missed, but they never step up and tell you that. But I know it wasn't all the other factors. It couldn't have been the product. It couldn't have been the price. It couldn't have been the service. It couldn't have been the competition. It couldn't have been any of those things because the same number of people, 650 people, 25% of my sales force did 67% in the exact same environment, and I'll tell you how they did it. They did it through the law of responsibility, and they said, I don't care what any of those things are, I'm going to get more than my share. And by the way, I agree with Johnny. Whatever the hell's going on in Wisconsin, the rest of this company needs to get on that bus. And that is it. My guess is the people that are putting up the numbers that Johnny wanted to recognize when he started is they're doing the activities. It is that simple. And that is the law of responsibility. Zig Ziglar, famed speaker from years ago, would say, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Third law, getting your head in the right condition, is the law of attraction. And the law of attraction says if you really believe you can be, have, or do something, you'll create the circumstances and find the people to allow you to be, have, or do. It is that simple. Where I'm standing in a conference room less than 15 miles from Disneyland. Over 50 years ago, Walt Disney had a vision. A vision, remember that? He said, I got a vision to build the happiest place on earth. He builds a business plan. He puts it together. He goes to a banker who's a personal friend of his, says, hey, you own a bank. Only thing I'm missing is financing. Here's my business plan. I want to build the happiest place on earth. His banker reads his business plan, gives it back to him, and says, you don't need a banker, you need a doctor. This is a sick idea. Well, he didn't go to a doctor. He went to another bank, and he went to another bank, and he went to another bank. And if Walt Disney had stopped at the 307th bank that turned him down, we would never have had Disneyland. Because Disneyland got done on the 308th sales call. If you really believe you can be, have, or do something, you'll create the people create the circumstance and find the people to allow you to be, have, or do. It is that simple. The fourth law is the law of expectations. Our life is a direct result of our expectations for it. This is the way I like to write it down. We are what we think we are. We are what we think we are. I'm a runner, and I've run over 50 marathons in the last 15 years. When I first started getting into the running game, I read a bunch of books on it. And it amazed me that until 1954, it was believed that you couldn't run a marathon. A human being could not run a mile, in under 4 minutes. It was physiologically, psychologically impossible to run a mile in under 4 minutes. And then Roger Bannister breaks the 4-minute mile. You would have thought he would have held the record for decades. He held it for less than 30 days. Because as soon as Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile, other people went, hey, looks like you can do this. Here's what I tell you. Whatever your numbers are at College Works today, raise the bar. Raise the bar. It's amazing how much you will do if you would just raise the bar. Jay mentioned that he and I worked together a number of years ago at a company called Platinum Capital. In 1998, it was ranked number 10 on the Inc. 500, the 10th fastest growing privately held company in the U.S. What he didn't tell you was, in our first 5 years of business, we experienced 10,100% growth. That's none of that business that you see so many other businesses doing. 5% better than last year, 3% better, 8% better. The hell with that crap. Raise the bar. The law of expectations. I didn't get 275 newspaper clients when everybody else was averaging 30 and 40 by not raising the bar. Selling potholders by raising the bar. Raise the bar, raise the bar, raise the bar. And the last law is the law of belief. And the belief is the guiding factor, passion that provides direction in life for you. It is what I call your stake in the ground. If you come to the game at College Works day in and day out, and no one at College Works can make you do this. If you come with self-discipline, responsibility, attraction, expectations, and belief, everything else the College Works can provide for you. They know how to get it done. They just need you to do the activities. Let's go there. We're going to go to another concept, but I've been around the edges of it all throughout here. I call it backward thinking, and I hope you're still taking notes. At 13 years old, during that caddying job, I had an opportunity to not just carry golf bags. I had an opportunity to ask for 4 to 5 hours the guys that I were carrying their bags how they got to be successful enough to play golf during the week when everybody else was working and have big homes and drive nice cars. And I took notes of almost 200 members of that golf club. And one of the biggest things that I learned was put your goals in writing, have a written plan on how you're going to achieve the goals, a system of measurement, and a system of accountability. When I did that, I then said, all right, I'm going to pick 4 areas of my life because the members of the golf club said, don't go too many. So I picked financial, professional, education, and family. And I painted a picture, my vision, of where I wanted to be in my life at 30 in those 4 boxes. How much money did I want to be making by the age of 30? What did I want to look like professionally by the age of 30? What did I want my education to look like by the age of 30? And what did I want my family to look like? And if I could paint that picture with clarity and achieve it by the age of 30, I'd be successful. And then once I had my vision all painted in those 4 boxes, I then just worked it back into 1-year plans so that between 13 and 14, I knew what I needed to do to make that happen. I could give a 2, 3, 4-hour presentation on just backward thinking and all the things in my life that has taken place as a result of understanding where I wanted to go and the things that I needed to do to get it done. By the way, the things I needed to do, activities. Now, I'm over the top on this, but I am going to tell you that if you and I met in high school, and I graduated with a class of 275 kids, if you and I met in high school, and I ascertained that you weren't going to add value to one of those 4 boxes, you and I never talked again in high school. I know less than 10 kids from my high school class because I have been maniacally focused on my goals, on my vision, and my activities. And backward thinking is all about that. Please, in your notes, there are 4 key things that need to be done. First, you need to put your goals in writing. Next, you need a written plan on how you're going to get them done. Next is a system of measurement. And last is a system of accountability. And by the way, if some of that sounds familiar, it runs all over the place at College Works. And so when management, when the leadership at College Work is holding you accountable for certain activities, I'm telling you, they're working their butts off to help you be more successful. And then it's up to you to bring the game. Absolutely critical. Let's move on to another concept. Time for another note. The shortest course on sale. I speak on sales for multiple full days, but the shortest course that I could ever give is 4 words. Ask questions and listen. Ask questions and listen is the shortest course on sales, but so many people get into sales because they're good on their feet. They like interacting with people when they go into the marketplace and they show up and throw up. Let me tell you. The bottom line when you are doing what you need to be doing is this. People do not want to be sold. And so I tell every one of you, the secret to selling is to quit selling. Change the definition, and this is the one I would prefer. Help people to buy. Help people to buy. And as you go through the process of knocking on those doors, and there's a proven formula of so many doors that you knock on turn into so many estimates that turn into so many orders. Well, I am telling you, if you're doing a good job of asking questions and listening through that process, the orders will take place. And that estimate is an unbelievable fertile ground where that takes place. 4 words, ask questions and listen. Next concept, people do business with people they like. And they tend to like people that are more like them. When I go out in the marketplace and I go ride shotgun with a top sales guy, they do something different than the average sales guy. And what they do different is they don't sell to everybody the same way. They adjust their style to be more compatible with the person they're calling on. People do business with people they like, and they tend to like people that are more like them. And basically, you can figure out a person's personality style by knocking on their door in under 2 minutes. By asking yourself just 2 questions about this person. The first question you want to ask is this person more assertive than the typical person that I interact with, or are they less assertive? More assertive or less assertive? When I'm in front of my live audiences, I ask my audiences that all the time, and they say, oh, for sure, you're more assertive. And so what they basically just said, of 4 basic social styles, I'm one of these 2. So I'm not one of these. I am not analytical. Now, an analytical is somebody that is very detailed oriented, and they want proof and documentation, and when you're calling on them and taking an estimate, I'm telling you, you're going to need to spend more time with that guy. If you were going to spend a lot of time with me and I lived over here, you're a dead man walking, and you don't even know it because you haven't adjusted your style. I'm also non-amiable, kind, warm, gentle. How are you? How's the family? How do you feel? What do you think of the weather? Hey, do that with me, and I'm throwing you off the property. It's not what I want, but if you're calling on a person that is amiable, you need to spend more time in that arena. That's one of the questions, more assertive or less assertive. The next question is, how does this person tend to make their decisions? Do they make them more based on logic, or do they make them more based on emotion? Are you a logic-based decision maker or an emotion-based decision maker? Now, if you think about what you've learned about me so far tonight, well, what you heard is systems and processes, systems and processes, systems and processes. Follow the process and you will be successful. That is a person that is logic. Think about it. I thought through where I wanted to be by the age of 30 at 13 years old, and then built one-year plans to take me there. That is a person that is logic-driven. So I am a driver. Driver, control. You want to do business with me? It'll take three things. 1, 2, 3. When you get those, come back. Now get out. There are people that are watching this right now that go, whoa, I'm never going to call on him again. And there are people that are real comfortable doing that. This is a guy that wants it quick. They want bottom line, and they want you to move on. And they will do the estimate, and they will do the order, and they will make decisions, and they'll make them quickly. Just get on with it. If I were here, I would be expressive, outgoing, life of the party, creative. 70% of people in sales tend to be from the expressive box. The biggest challenge with them is they're society's worst listeners, and the shortest course on sales is ask questions and listen. Biggest challenges we see in selling is selling to the guy opposite the corner that you live in. Analyticals think expressives are bullshit artists. Every time I ask them for proof and documentation, they offer me game tickets and a beer, and the expressive looks at the analytical and says, my God, 4 letters would have done urinal. Drivers think amiables are too nice. Amiables think drivers are Osama bin Laden. And so there's friction. Last thing people in college want to do is go have somebody tell them to read another book. But I will tell you, the book for salespeople that will make a profound difference in your life in this area is called The Platinum Rule. And The Platinum Rule was written by a guy by the name of Tony Alessandra. And Tony says we all know the golden rule, treat people like you want to be treated. Tony said turn them into platinum and treat them the way they want to be treated. And so adjusting your style to be more compatible. And the way we figure out a style is more assertive, less logic or emotion. And then once we know analytical, driver, expressive, or amiable, then you adjust your style, whatever you are, to be more like that person. The top salespeople do this, what looks to be very natural. Anybody can learn to do it. But the bottom line that I put in my notes, that I want you to put in your notes, is this. People do business with people they like, and they tend to like people that are more like them. Next, always create a next action step. At the end of a call, always create a next action step. And I say this, at the end of any type of call, you create a next action step because it gains momentum to the finish line. But I also, when I teach people in sales that are doing something a little bit different than you, I say, look, carry a money bag. And in this money bag are my thank you cards, my envelopes, my stamps. I actually have my photo on my stamps. I have one in a coat and tie. I have one as an Iron Man. I got those done at stamps.com and Zazzle.com. I've got my pen in here, my business card, and after every call that I make on somebody, I write them a thank you card. Well, in your business, if you want to take your business to another level and get referrals and all kinds of things like that, get in the practice of having a money bag. I call this a money bag because this bag has made me literally millions and millions of dollars. And in fact, here is a client of mine that attended an open session of mine in Toronto. Let me just read to you an email, couple paragraphs. I was seriously considering crashing your course today to share this, but thought better to send you this note. This was on Friday. Since Monday of this week, same week, after attending your session with the XYZ company, I've closed 2 sales using your techniques of emailing from parking lot, and the thank you card dropped in the mailbox nearest the building. Both clients loved it, and both bought my software product. And here's the key I want to give you. That has simply never happened before. The sales cycle with our software is typically 2 to 4 months. So every one of my audiences hears this. Buy and use a money bag. And what I say is, never ever have a sales call end without creating a next action step. Put on more positively. Always create a next action step at the end of a sales call. And thank your customers. Thank your customers. And I have massive evidence of clients of mine that are doing these types of things. By the way, if you haven't gone to my website, sometime take a visit. JackDaly.net. That is JackDaly.net. On there, you can sign up for my newsletter. I write it every month and give you ideas on how to be better at sales, sales management, and leadership. Also, when you visit my website, take a look at my goals this year. I publish them for the world to see, so wherever I go, someone is holding me accountable. I actually give that document that you'll see on my website that are my goals for this year to 5 key people in my life and say 4 or 5 times a year, go to lunch with me and make sure I'm doing what I said I was going to do and hold me accountable. And every single day I write down every single thing I did, activities. Then I analyze it by the month, analyze it by the quarter, and do a quarterly report to my board of directors of my life, those 5 people that are holding me accountable. And because of that, I get to do all of the things that I'm getting to do in life because I have a system and a process. And CollegeWorks has a system and a process, and all you need to do is follow it. Next item on my list that I want you to write down is this. Build and use a success guide. A success guide. The good news for you is that CollegeWorks has already pretty much built it. All you need to do is follow it. The concept of the success guide is this. There's hardly anything that goes on a sales call that you couldn't anticipate before you get there. There's hardly anything that goes on a sales call that you couldn't figure out before you get there. And as a result, there's no reason to not be prepared. So now I'm going to disclose to you another secret of success of top producers. They are canned. They're canned. What I mean by that is they say the same thing the same way each time they encounter a certain situation. The beauty of the top producers is they don't sound canned. It sounds like it's the very first time they've ever said it. But they figured out what works. Well, the neat thing here at CollegeWorks is these guys have been at it for so long, they already know what works. All you need to do is follow the process. And I'll give you a homework assignment, just what you wanted to hear. The best book on one thing that you need to be prepared on is this question. The question, why should I do business with CollegeWorks Painting? And the answer you want to give them has got to be differentiated, unique, and better than anyone else out in the marketplace. And the book on that question is called Creating Competitive Advantage. It's written by a woman by the name of Janie Smith, Jaynie. And if you were to read that book and then take the principles and apply it to your business or any business, you will profoundly outperform your competitors. There are very few objections that you'll run into, less than 10. As a result, figure out the best answers and have them ready when you're out there. These are basics, but the key is hardly anybody is consistently applying the basics. That's the secret. My next thing that I wrote down was role practice. Practice inside the company regularly and ongoing so you're not practicing when you're knocking on doors. Because every time you practice on a door, you lose that opportunity. I say practice inside with your fellow colleagues so that you kick the ass of the competition when it's out in the real world. The very best golfers on the Pro Tour are actually playing in less golf tournaments, but they're winning a higher percentage and they're making a lot more money. And the key is, while everybody else is going from one tournament to another, they're taking time to practice. And then they show up for the ones that matter, and they're in the winner's circle. And if I ever came into an organization and wanted to be a top producer in the sales side of the house, I would write down this concept: model the masters. Figure out the guys that are already putting the numbers up. Somebody's already figured it out. Well, at College Works, they've been at it for years. They figured it out. Modeling the masters, another way of putting that in this company is, hell, not only can I watch the guys that are learn from them as to who's doing what, the numbers, but these guys have already figured it out at College Works. The systems and process are reflective of modeling the masters. Here it is. Identify the activities. College Works has already done that. Do the activities. That's where you're in. And then reap the rewards, and everybody wins. Plain and simple. So I said, all right, I've given you some stories about myself. I've given you some stories about my companies. I've given you some concepts on sales. I've given you some concepts on sales leadership. I've given you some concepts on entrepreneurialism. And I'm giving you some concepts on how to keep your head healthy. Keeping your head healthy is how you become wealthy. Now, where I'd like to take you is the key takeaways. And I wrote down 20 of them, and so I'd like you to get busy as we go along. Here's my first one. It's about the important and not the urgent. People and companies tend to underperform to their capabilities because we rush to the urgent at the expense of the important. People and companies tend to underperform to their capabilities because we rush to the urgent at the expense of the important. Another way of putting that is most people are reactive and not proactive. Proactive. Do the activities. We've already figured out what they need to be. Second key takeaway, what I wrote down. Focus precedes success. Focus precedes success. I was working with a client just the other day, and when I narrowed their focus down to 5 key clients, their business absolutely went through the roof. Focus precedes success. Let me translate that to you. High payoff activities. High payoff activities. What we find with top producing salespeople is they are maniacally focused on the activities. They are so focused on the activities, they will not go home on any night until those activities get done. Now, I personally can tell you that whatever is necessary to get done to achieve my goals that are on my website, I assure you, I do not go home without getting it done. There's a whole lot of other things that may not get done, but that for sure will get done. Because if you identify the activities and you break them down by month, by week, by day, and you take that daily activity list, the results have to happen. They just have to happen. It is truly a numbers game with a proper attitude. Third, there's 20. My number 3, focus on that which you have control of. Focus on that which you have control of. Yo, I'm in an Ironman in Arizona and my tire goes flat. The only thing I got control of is change the damn flat. I can't sit on the side of the road and kick my bike and be all pissed off and sit there and say, gosh darn it, I could have done better if my tire hadn't gone flat. What I got to do is I got to get off that bike as fast as I can, get the wheel off, get the tire off, put the new tube in, get the wheel back on, and get my ass on the bike, and let's go back in the game. And if you have 3 flats in the same race, you got to do it 3 times. By the way, we only carry 2 spares with us typically in a race. And so I had to walk my bike for 2 miles to an aid station where they phoned somebody to come out from the race and bring me a spare tube, and I had to sit around waiting for them. There's a reason to quit, I guess. Or be moaning and groaning about whatever is out of my control. But, hey, life happens. And then, how do you deal with it? Successful people focus on that which they have control of. Number 4, the power of saying no. The power of saying no. The most valuable company in the world today is Apple. When Steve Jobs was interviewed and asked, of all the things that he's most proud of all the things that he's done, what is he most proud of? Here's a guy that resurrected and redid the animated motion picture industry. Here's a guy that redid the phone industry. Here's a guy that redid the computer industry. Here's a guy that introduced the iPad. There's a guy that's done unbelievable things. He comes back to Apple and brings it out of the death. And there he's asked, what's he most proud of? And here was his answer. All of the spectacular things that are put in front of me that I said no to. Because if you think about Apple and you go and look at their product line, it's very, very little. The power of saying no, how does that relate to you? I'm going to take it back to time blocking. All the distractions that you have in your life that stand in the way of you doing these key activities. And what we have to do is we have to block out a lot of that stuff and say no to a lot of stuff. It's attractive at the time. It's compelling. It's magnetic. But it ain't going to get you the job done. Power of saying no. 5. My 5th of 20 ideas. Things that get measured get done. Things that get measured get done. I mentioned having my goals in writing. Here's all my goals for this year on my personal side of my life, all detailed out before the year started. Here's my quarterly report to my board of directors in my life on how I'm doing on a quarterly basis, where my variances are, how I'm going to get back on the bus. And here is my log by day. I write down everything I did on every day that relates to anything that's going on in the personal side of my life, and this has nothing to do with my business. And if I'm doing that on the personal side of my life, can you imagine how I have built and run my businesses? Because I know this, without a doubt, things that get measured get done. When College Works is asking you to measure your activities, they're acting in your best interest of reaping the rewards. 6 is tied in with 5, and that is inspect what you expect. Inspect what you expect. Having people call you on the carpet and saying, did you do this, and did you do that, and did you do this, and did you do that, is absolutely necessary in order to make it happen. I'm in that Ironman world on a regular basis. This year I'll do 5 Ironmans. In July I have the opportunity to represent the United States against 60 other countries in Spain in the long course Ironman World Championship. And I'm telling you, in that Ironman world, the guys that are achieving a greater degree of success are the people that have coaches and have people that are holding them accountable. Inspect what you expect. Number 7, Differentiate or die. Find a way to be different than your competitors in your marketplace. If I could do it at 7 years old with potholders, if I could do it at 12 years old with newspapers, you could do it at College Works. 8, the power of leverage. Any business I've gotten into, whether I was a sales guy, a sales manager, an owner entrepreneur, I'm looking at how can I leverage. Leverage. 5 kids delivering my newspapers, 275 papers, while I'm out showing 5 guys in caravans on Saturday afternoons for 4 hours on how to sell. If I'm busy with the newspapers delivery, I can't be doing that job. And remember, delivering the newspapers was a suck deal. Cold, wet, snow. Heck, and I'm still getting half of the money plus all the tips. You can't do that unless you leverage. Figure out how to leverage. Number 9, winning is in the preparation. Winning is in the preparation, and the way I translate that for the people that are on this webinar cast is systems and processes. Preparation's already been done. College Works has figured it out. All we need to do is follow the game plan. That's it. Winning is in the preparation. Number 10, training is a process, not an event. All too often, too many people in sales particularly, they go off to some 2-day training session, 5-day training session, month training session. I don't care what the duration is. But then we put them in the field and they think they don't need to be trained any longer. Training is a process, not an event. It never, ever ends if you want to continue to be good. 11, the lesson is this. I think you need to fail, and you need to fail, and you need to fail. You need to fail often. You need to fail quickly, because the more often and the more quickly you fail, you'll succeed. I don't know anybody I've met in my life that enjoys success that doesn't have their failure stories. But failures come as a result of taking action. And you learn what didn't work so that you can then focus on that which does work. 12, get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Jay gave me a great introduction here today. And I'm speaking all over the world to over 100 different companies and groups each year. If it was up to them, I'd speak 300 days a year. I'd have no life and no wife, so I hold it to 100. High demand. Over 80% of my year this year was sold out before the first of the year. We're now booking people in 2013, 14, and 15 for me speaking. And then I think about this. I have a bachelor's degree in accountant. I worked at Arthur Andersen as an accountant before there was an Enron. And I was afraid to get up in front of people and speak. And I said, gosh, I want to live the life of a mentor of mine by the name of Jim Pratt. He's gone and visiting the world and making a difference. And the only thing I need to do is I need to learn how to speak in front of a public. But I'm really uncomfortable, and I would stutter, and I would go through stammering, and I'd have all kinds of issues. And the only way that you get where you want to get to is by getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. I actually got a real prize in my life and had as my mentor, Jim Pratt, offer me the opportunity to work side by side with him as a speaker. And I remember my first year trying to do it Jim Pratt style. Jim Pratt style was eloquent. I would tell you mine is energy. You got to be who you are and then deal with the uncomfortableness of whatever it is out there. And if it's knocking on doors that's uncomfortable, I'll tell you how to get comfortable with it. Knock on a hell of a lot more doors. That's the secret. Number 13. 50% of success takes place here all day long. 50% or more of success is a head case. People ask me how I'm doing. I have a standard answer. Awesome. Always awesome. See, I get up in the morning and I take the pledge. I'm going to be absolutely awesome. And no matter what takes place that day, 3 flats in Phoenix, didn't matter. I'm out here doing something that very few human beings in the world get to do. It's got nice weather going on. And in less than 10 hours, I'm going to cross the finish line. They're going to drape a medal around my neck. And Mike Riley's going to be at that finish line cheering me on saying, Jack Daly, you are an Iron Man. That is awesome. Changing those flats, awesome. Always awesome. The only way you can be less than that is if you let somebody with a negative attitude into your headspace. 50% or more of success is a head case. That was my 13th of 20 suggestions. 14, passion and persistence pays. Be passionate and be persistent. In Jay's introduction, he talked about me having a jet on call at Burbank Airport in one of my roles as the head of a large company traded on the New York Stock Exchange. I had a helicopter on the roof of my building and a private cook and dining room on the floor next to in the room next to me, seating 8 people. My own cook, Lakers tickets on the floor for the season, Dodger tickets on the field for the season. Making 7-figure income with tons of stock and lots of notoriety, but I hated what I was doing. I decided to go down to San Diego from L.A., and I joined up with my mentor, Jim Pratt, and said, I'm going to become a speaker. I wasn't any good. I was uncomfortable with it. And my first year, I worked my ass off, and I made $50,000. By the way, I had no jet, I had no helicopter, I had no chef. I had no stock. There was no personal assistance. I made $50,000. The next year, I broke my ass and made $100,000. And I had offers to go to work at other places and do what I was doing before. 7-figure incomes. Today, I work a third of the year. I travel all over the world with my wife. I get the opportunity to make a difference in companies and people's lives professionally and personally. And I got a 7-figure income, and I got to live the life of a rock star. It's unbelievable. Passion and persistence pays. Write it down. 15, adversity is a given. Just it's a given. No matter what you do in life, it ain't going to work perfect. Go into it with that attitude, and then it's how you deal with the adversity that determines your success. I'm just waiting for it to happen. I know it's always going to arrive. And then it's up to me. That's all in the head. By the way, 16 is real simple. No excuses. None. No excuses. None. My 10th Ironman was just this past weekend. Had my worst Ironman swim. I did Ironman New Zealand 3 weeks prior to that. I could blame it on doing 2 Ironmans in the same month. I could blame it on the rough seas in those conditions. I could blame it on the fact that we started in the dark and I didn't have a clue where the next buoy was that we were going to. But there were 1,600 other people out there racing. I had the worst swim time of my 10 Ironmans. But I went back into my logbook, and I went back afterwards and I took a look at my training, and it was missing. The reason I had the worst time in my Ironman is because I didn't do the activities. You do the activities, you get the results. No excuses. No excuses. 17. Never ever stop learning. Never stop learning. This month alone, when it's over, a couple more days, I will have read 5 books this month. I can't read enough. The pace with which the world is changing. My material, if I'm not staying ahead of it, I'm not in demand. Yep, we want to have tried, true, and proven things, but we also have to recognize that the market around us changes, and as it changes, we must change. And one of the best ways to stay ahead of it is to stay ahead of those that you're competing with, and you can do that by staying on top of your learning. 18, life isn't fair. That's a given too. So you can moan about it all you want, or you can just deal with it as the given that it is. In my early 30s, I was 2 steps removed from the chairmanship of a Fortune 200 company. Fair-haired, rising star, big company, 28,000 employees. 2 steps removed from the chairmanship of the company. Out of the blue comes an outside raider, unfriendly takeover. I had a golden parachute. I didn't particularly like the guy that took us over. I exercised my parachute. He snapped the cords on the way down, and I went into free fall. I got no cushion in terms of money. My career looks like it's over. And if that hadn't happened in my life, I would have never had the opportunity to go on and build 6 companies from scratch into national platforms, and today be a successful speaker. Life isn't fair. That's the given. The question is, how do you deal with the cards that you're dealt when they're not fair? Just know that that's just going to be reality. The best and most successful people look for the reality and then take it front on. 19. How you do anything is how you do everything. Be really simple for me to go out and ride shotgun with any of you that are watching here this evening. And all I would need to do is see 30 to 60 minutes of your behavior. And how you do anything is how you do everything. And I've been able to make quick calls on hiring and firing of people because I didn't see the right basics. And the right basics really come down to what you personally are doing on an everyday, every hour, every minute basis. And my 20th takeaway is no matter what you do in life, the key is having fun. If you are not having fun, you need to go find something you're going to have fun with. But you've got to couple that with the pay down the road, the payoff down the road. I wasn't having a lot of fun. I wasn't having a lot of fun when I first became a speaker. It wasn't a lot of fun to go from 7-figure income to 50 grand and be busting my ass. But I could have a vision. Remember that? I could have a vision of where I was going to be at one point in time. Once I got it knocked, and then life was going to be a ton of fun. And so every day when I went to the studio and practiced, and every day when I was scripting, and every day when I was trying different things out, and every day when I was getting in front of a group of people and getting through those hesitancies and those stutters and all of those types of things, I decided to call that fun. The fun was in the progress that was being made, not the pain that I was enduring. Find things that you're passionate about. Find ways to make it fun. And then the last thing I wrote down was lessons I learned in doing an Ironman. So I'm going to come to a close here soon, and I'll tell you about the start of me in the Ironman business. So I got my bucket list. It was called a life list, and I got 125 items on my life list. And on there was to race an Ironman. And Jay said it earlier, 2.4-mile swim, usually in the deep water ocean or something, 112-mile bike, and a 26.2-mile run. I'm 57 years old at the time, some 6 years ago, and my kids are old enough, and they're gone, and my business is such that it's running with enough time that I can train. So I guess it's time to take on the Ironman. Here's the problem. At 57 years old, I didn't know how to swim. So I enter a half Ironman, and I doggy paddled it. I doggy paddled the half Ironman, and 900 of us started the race. I came in last in the swim, damn near died, completely wasted from an energy standpoint. And now I come out of the swim, and my head is in the wrong place. All I'm thinking about is, what a loser. Last. Never been last at anything, you loser? Well, I also knew this. 50% or more of success at anything is in your head. I got 56 miles to ride on a bike. There's no way I'm going to get a 56-mile bike ride done in a time that needs to be done in order to get the run unless I clean up my head. So I said, find something positive to put inside your jar. And as I was running up to get to my bike, I came up with the positive. I started feeling bad for the guy who came out of the water first. I mean, think about it. Think about how hard it was for him to find his bike. There were 900 out there on the parking lot. Hell, I came out of the water. Mine was the only one there. Easy. Then I put my headset on, my strap on my head, on my helmet, and I said, my God, you know what? This is cool. No one can pass me. And all I did the rest of that day was race the guy in front of me. And as soon as I picked one off, then I went after another one. And then I picked another one off and went after another one. By the way, I learned a really, really valuable lesson in that first triathlon. And that's nutrition. I had no idea that I was wasting away and I was not replenishing the salt and was not replenishing anything. I came in, I made the bike cut off. Now I got 13.1-mile run. I am a runner, so I should have no problem except that I am completely wasted. Well, I did the run. I made the cutoff, and I come through the finish line. And as I finished, all I wanted to do was sit down, and as I went to sit down, I landed on the ground, and both my arms and legs went into a cramp. I want you to think about one of your legs cramping. Well, both legs and both arms cramped. The scream went all the way over to the med tent. They came out with a stretcher. They took me away. They put me under ice, threw some IVs in me, and brought me back to life. 3 days later, I'm on the beach with my wife sitting there, and I turned to her and I said, man, I bet you if you did the right things, that would be a cool thing to do. She said, you're not going to do that again, are you? And I said, oh, yeah, well, I'll go back to the States and go back to the mainland and get myself a coach and learn to swim. And so I found out how to swim. I practiced, by the way, 350,000 yards in the pool that year. Practice, practice, practice. I got myself a bike. I learned how to bike right. I got bike shoes and the pedals that went with it. I didn't have that over there in Hawaii. I rented some bike at a bike shop. Hadn't been on a bike since I was 13. I learned about nutrition, and then I went back to the same race the following year. The gun went off. 1,200 people. By the way, 1,200 people competing in this race. There wasn't 50 people older than me. I come out of the water and I hear this. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 500 racers out of the water. 700 more to go. Keep cheering them on. 700 people behind me 1 year later. Because I followed the activities. I did the process and the system. I did the things that I needed to get done. I got on my bike, and now I know how to bike, and now I got a bike, and I got a bike that runs well, and I know nutrition. Then I came in on the run, and I had legs to do the run. 46,000 people competed for 1,400 spots at the Half Ironman World Championship that year. That's mine. It has my name on it. Well, the lesson that I learned in doing the Ironman is a lesson that can be learned in life and everything that one does. And that is this. I never, ever should have been in that first race. How dare I? How dare I? I violated everything that I talk about in my business. I violated everything my parents taught me. Identify the activities. Do the activities. Train. Practice. Get coached. Hold yourself accountable. Get people to hold you accountable. Things that get measured get done. Inspect what you expect. I did none of that in the first race. I did all of that in the second race. How dare I do that in that first race? Lessons learned in doing and becoming an Ironman. How dare you? How dare you join up with an organization like College Works that already has figured out the systems and processes, has already figured out how to hold you accountable, what things to measure. How dare you? How dare anyone in any opportunity in life not take care of the activities, not take care of the head case? You take care of the activities, systems, and processes. You take care of what goes on inside your jar, and you will reap the rewards. Hopefully you were able to take 2 or 3 things out of today's presentation, and I want to thank Jay and the rest of the guys for the opportunity to share some thoughts with you tonight. Thanks, Jay.